Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. I have a 2v2 for you guys today, a knockdown drag-out fight between Blind Bandit, Papa Pingo on the Red 4 team, and Weebsuck and Haku on the Blue 4 team. And the bottom two, actually, Blind Bandit and Papa Pingo, are one of the teams in my Knights and Squires tournament. So it's nice to see them playing together. Unfortunately, Haku and Weebsuck, who is Combine, well actually they switched this time, but two players on blue are Haku and Combine. Haku is actually the captain, not the private, and then Combine is the private. We're not quite a pair, but they are both in the tourney, so it's nice to see people doing these 2v2s from the tourney. I appreciate it. I hope you guys get something out of it as well. And this is, so Paddy Field I expect to be a really common map that's chosen for the tournament, so it was nice to see that as well. And we have right now Soviets on the Red 4 side from Blind Bandit. We also have Soviets from Papa Pingo, but my understanding of it is that Papa Pingo took a Soviet armored 1980 deck, and he's going to take a Soviet armored 1980 deck and, well, forest grind with it in Boris. So we're going to see how that goes. I don't really expect that's going to be the optimal choice here, but let's see. We have planes coming in from blue. That is some sort of... oh, yeah, that's not great. That is not great. Lots of planes in the early game from blue. Peace Pheasant 2 as well coming in, looking for that T80 but it's not a one-pass, one-tap with that. I mean, the just has too much armor, unless you get both volleys off on that 26 AP, which might have been the hope, but some nice smoke from the Red 4 player here, and also that is a book. Actually, that's two books. So this is what I like to call the Rara opener. So it's something I do in team games as well. I'm sure I've mentioned it from time to time. Rara / Blind Bandit, he's a first lieutenant, but that's really just because he never plays ranked. He's been one of the best team game players I've seen for a long time, so I'm curious to see how this is going to go. It's also part of what got him the Knight categorization on the Knights and Squires tournament, when normally first lieutenants would be Squires. It's just a ton of games, really high performance, really solid player. So second Peace Pheasant 2, this is a dangerous buy from the captain on the Blue 4 team, because that's 180 points in the air, no kills for it, double book, taking down both those planes. And I mean, if your intention there was to kill a T80 well, a T80 is 170 points, you just threw 180 points at it, and now both your planes are gone, which most people will, I think, take two Peace Pheasant 2s per card, unless you're taking two cards. That's going to be all of the Peace Pheasant 2s the rest of the game, which is a little bit of a mess. Speaking of, this is a little bit of a mess as well. Nice support there from the Blue 4 private. Just because these guys' names are switched, I'm just going to have to do that, because otherwise I'll be calling the private Haku here is not Haku, so like, I don't know. They switched their names, it's kind of funny. So, alright, here's another thing as well, and I want to mention this for Papa Pingo just in case he does see this. When you're in Anna, especially, well, even in a 1v1, but especially in a 2v2, guard this section. Really, truly guard this section. You need minimum, I mean, you can have some Razvedka right here, maybe some Motostrelki. It's not that expensive, and it keeps things a bit more well spotted on your side of the field. So we'll see if that's relevant later on, but it's just a big pet peeve of mine. Sapri doing pretty well here, Fusilers 90, not going to be a match for them, and I guess looking at it right now, this is your standard 2v2 Paddy, right? Like Square Forest is still held by blue, Triangle is still held by blue. That could actually be a really bad thing with the Red 4 team, because oftentimes 2v2 Paddy, you have one side attempt to push Triangle right at the beginning. If the Red 4 side tried to do that, basically one player takes their entire opener and shoves it right down here, with the idea being that by winning Triangle Forest, they win the game, because, well, they can countercap Fetter. It's sort of like it is in 1v1, except in 2v2, because there's higher points density, it really allows one player to take double super heavy over here, and not have to care too much that all those points aren't preparing for an Anna rush or a Boris push off the Blue 4 side, because, well, you have a whole teammate for that, so it is a little bit more... oh man, that was a split. Oh my goodness, did you see that? Alright, fair enough. So the Captain Weebsuck, who is also in the turn, he just did a split. Oh my goodness, okay. So usually, I mean, calling out two RBTs is also a bit of an overcommit here, but I mean, goodness gracious, that's why they're circling. Those K1A1s were dead to rights. Oh my goodness. Okay. And now because of that split, these guys don't have a target, so they are going to circle around. It's an exploit, by the way, probably like a bug or an exploit. And the thing is, too, planes circle really far forward, so that actually wasn't even an order that Blind Bandit gave. That was just, well, they're circling in this area around here, and so, oh jeez. Okay, so we have double K1A1 splitting, using that exploit to save 240 point tanks and kill the only two of those, what was it, 105 or 115 points cluster bombers. Oh, okay, yep, here it is. Damn, alright. So right now, I mean, it looks like the Blue 4 team's doing pretty well, honestly. I mean, that's a CV kill on Anna, that's going to stop the tick there that Red had going on, and okay. Yeah, we're a little bit lucky that the Conqueror's M is right here. Yeah, guard this section, so every single time, twice on Sundays, that bomber is nice in there to clear things out if there's stuff in there right now, but a little bit of Razvedka, a little bit of Mostrelki, that'll save you a CV, and it's not the first time I've seen that either, and I've also done that to people too, because they think, you know, okay, well, I'm defending up on this side, I don't really have much to worry about, I'll see it if they're moving down around there. You won't. Especially if somebody's really sneaky on blue and they go over this way and then come up this road. So I've seen that before as well. I've actually done that in Force a couple of times. You take like 6 or 7 mechanized units and just chuck it right there, and usually gets through enough, and all of a sudden that's a really big problem. Oh my goodness, no. Oh man, I mean, I don't even know. This is the thing about 1980 decks. I don't even know if that bomber was worth it. It's a 140 point bomber, but I mean, everything there's dead. Oh man, that's really rough. One thing I want you guys to see as well here from the Red 4 team, from Blind Bandit in particular, is this double sec of T80UMs. They're damaged, they're up on top of Cheriton, they're repairing. They're not able to fend this stuff off in Gregory right now. So you might be thinking, okay, well this looks actually really horrible for Red, because Blue's pushing forward, they're probably even going to take this whole zone. I mean, there's a VDV-90 that are getting shot by both Blue 4 teammates here, the Challenger 1 Mark 1 moving over, and yeah, I mean, if Blue takes Gregory, that's really a rough thing, but the counterpoint I like to say is now the UMs are healed again, and they're just going to be popping down here and getting kills, and I think that is not a bad defensive strategy. When I do this in 1v1, actually, and I'll mention this to Blind Bandit later on, because I'm curious if he knows about the other way of doing this, but instead of coming down here on this road, which I find is often hard to retreat from without getting side shot, potentially, you can get pretty much the same line of sight off of these large tanks off of this road, and you're a little farther away from that forest, so if there's an unexpected super heavy or something like that, you don't need to be quite as tight with your smoke, but honestly, Blind Bandit smoke is good enough, you might be able to just do that. So we'll see, but I'll tell him, because you go right here, you'd be surprised what sort of line of sight you get. You usually can fire over some of the sections of town as well. It's a really useful spot for fending off Blue 4's push, which right now, I mean, yeah, they just came down, they're saying, hey, we're here. Well, geez, yeah, that's a Charlie too. We're not going to let Blue take Gregory quite yet, and we'll see how that goes in the future. The biggest thing, I think, is what Pingo is going to do, because any team needs to work together, and right now, Haku and We Suck, again, their names are switched, they're working together really well. So the Challenger 2, the Challenger 1 Mark 1 coming in here, you know, okay, I say that, but there's no pressure from the other side when these Challengers are engaging. And against WM, that's not going to be a fight that even a single Challenger 2 wants to take. Also, really, really nice cycling on the ATGM here off that T80UM. Came in, booped that Challenger 2 twice with the ATGMs, and is now going in. And, I mean, that thing's nearly dead, right? So if there's a second Challenger 2 and these both engaged at once, yeah, that's unfortunate. I think Blue 4 had the forces right now to kill that UM, and because of a little bit of lack of coordination, they're not going to be able to get that done. So, oh, maybe. If this is... That's side armor showing right now. Challenger 2 is not spotted. That would have been a nice place for a pick as well. But I think they got a little bit scared and are backing off, which is understandable. Oh, 1, 2. No, okay, just 1. Fair enough. Alright, so this is a little scary. There's still Gurkhas right here. There's probably enough from Papa Pingo on this side to take care of it, but line of sight's really tricky when you're dealing with these sorts of town fights. Those T-62s aren't even shooting in. At that point, when the Motostrelki engage, just move them forward. It's Gurkhas, yeah, it's a little bit scary, but you need to do something about it. Peace Pheasant 2. Okay, so that does look like double card there of Peace Pheasant 2 from the Blue Dragons player here. And nice combination with the Block 52D. Excellent in 1v1. Even better in team games, because people in team games tend to be a bit sloppier with their radar micro. And that one wasn't even sloppy with the radar micro, that was defending the T80UM, but you're gonna catch people out like that oftentimes. And oh, okay, swing and a miss. That's good. That would have been really catastrophic, because Blue's lost a lot of points in the air game so far, and I think, honestly, if you want to look downstream effects of those sorts of early buys, 180 extra points in the ground, and I'm pretty sure Blue could have probably pushed in here with that combined approach from both the Blue 4 players, and they just weren't there because they're two planes that have since been preemptively exploded, shall we say. So it's just something to keep in mind. Buy order really does matter, especially in team games, and if you can't guarantee those early picks from planes, don't use them, because they will just make the game harder for you later on if they die. So it's a little bit of cluster. Ooh, I like the cluster. Okay, so yeah, that's rough. That's rough, that's rough. I wonder what cluster arty that is. It's kind of interesting. This is incredibly dangerous. And this is why cluster is great for zoning too, is like the T80Ms don't want to be here right now, but they have no choice because their usual haunt is being clustered. Yep, they're moving back there right now. I imagine we'll see them go up on top of the plateau again, probably trying to heal up. And I guess another thing too, what's the best way to put this? I would have liked to see, so it's a 1980 deck, oh my goodness. You don't have VDV90, clearly, you don't have some of those tools. I would have liked to see a little bit more probing into the downside of Boris from Papa Pingo, just to keep the pressure on, because right now this has been a really 1v2 situation for Blind Bandit for a little bit. Not in terms of not doing anything to help, clearly. I mean, there's a second cap here, the first cap was also Pingo's, the recovery in Anna was very nice, but in team games I find that it's often really important to make both of your opponents spend on other sides of the board while you coordinate with your teammate. You want to have the coordination, not them. Okay, book M1. Yeah, okay, that dang. And so what's happening right now is that it looks like both the Blue 4 players are able to largely buy for Gregory. At least it seems that way to me. And that means that there's going to be more pressure on Blind Bandit, and those assets from Papa Pingo aren't coming over here to help quite yet, which I understand as well, because I'm not sure I'd ever send a T-64B, even supported by other tanks, against something where I knew there's two Challenger 2s, there's at least two K1A1s, there's a Challenger 1 Mark 1 down here, there's Ostlovs. This is a really common place for ATGMs, which can be really rough to deal with as well. Like, it's a 1980 decks, I do not recommend them. I know there's some that are a little bit funny and aren't the worst thing necessarily, but honestly, you're just going to get zoned by some of the heavier assets and heavier tanks, and this is nice. I mean, catching Fusiliers 90 when you can is always a nice pick, and the Sapity will do excellently well here. Yeah, goodness gracious. Yeah, okay, this is a little bit of pressure. T-62's moving down in response. I mean, that is another strategy, is just make him pay for it, but what does Soviet Armor 1980 do in the woods against the Centurion Aver? So you have to get your tanks in there, or that thing's just never going to die. Yeah. I mean, hey, you do you, man. You do you. Oh, don't lose the Strellas. You do you, but don't lose the Strellas. That's all I want. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Okay, so UM's coming in. This is looking a little bit scary. I'd like to see these MTLBVs from Pingo move down into Gregory. That would be my preference here, is just to give the little bit of meat to those T80 UMs. That, I mean, that's an optical failure. This is triple K1A1, by the way. 1, 2, 3. Right there. Not triple stacked, but all separate. Pros and cons to that. Pros and cons to that. Okay. Aggressive cap on Boris, getting that tick. 77 to 18 is Blue 4 favored, but this could be nice. Just don't overextend. Because what will happen if you overextend here is all that armor that you can't deal with will fire in from that back row. That'll be pretty rough. But it is exactly what I was talking about earlier with, you know, getting something moving on another side of the board, which can be very nice. Please don't put a UAZ here. This is maybe the single most artilleried and bombed patch in all of Paddy Field. There's a Jeep CB with 5 strength, I swear. Okay. Double OBR 1989 now, helping out the UMs. Yeah, I mean, Rar is a very tank-heavy player, and tanks in team games can just win you the game outright when they zone things out. And there's Gurkhas here, but what are the Gurkhas going to do exactly? If there's just Rozvedka or Motostrelki that move up, then we can get supporting fire off the MI8 MTV, which already was shooting in a little bit. I think that's probably what he's looking for here, is just to get something close enough to spot those Gurkhas. There it is, and watch this. 23 men, 22, 20. Okay, no firing off the... oh, it was landed. Okay. Generally 2. Yeah, I mean, those Gurkhas are having a rough day. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is another thing as well. So this coordination from red is actually really nice because Pingo is distracting one of the blue 4 players' micro over on that side. That was a Charlie 1 Mark 1 that got side-shotted by an Invar, and the Charlie 2 wasn't well microed at the start, probably because there's micro going on here. Cluster going in there looking for that UAZ. Yeah, okay. Yeah, don't put cheap CVs there, please. It'll just make me upset to see it. So, all the Gurkhas are dead. They're really expensive infantry, just too much fire support here, not enough area denial from the blue 4 player. And that'll cost you. That really will. Okay, so we have, that's 1, 2, that's the third. Aggressive cap. I cannot believe that blue is trying to cap while there's double OBR 1989, there's double UM, and there's a push going in right now. Red is pushing. Why the heck would blue do a cap right in the middle of red pushing? You know, I cap aggressively too sometimes quite, well, too aggressively. But holy cow, that right there is greedy. There's nothing here in front of it. I mean, the K1A ones, yeah, they're nearby, but there's WM right there. The Challenger 2s from the other blue 4 player are not being used aggressively. I mean, he's gotten out on 1 health twice now, which is kind of funny, but if you can do it, that's, you know, that's good. That's good micro, good awareness if you can get out with that little health. But 1 K1A1 goes down. That's the Charlie 2 pushing in. Oh, come on. Yep, nice. Doink. And I bet you those ATGMs are going to be cycled? No. Oh, probably because of the smoke. Yeah, I mean, there's no point to cycle the ATGMs if it's just going to run into smoke. They still do have a non-zero flight time. Short arrow here. Good. Nice kill. Yeah, this is just... I mean, you got to move out now, right? Like, that Jiwicha barely safe from that OBR 1989 double stack, and 2 of the K1A1s paid the troll toll, that third one getting out on 1 strength. This looks very red favored now, and it's just it was a retreat, it was a wave attack, it's what Soviets do, and oh no, no, get him out of there. Do not let that K1A1, yep, okay. Alright, that's 3. Oh, goodness gracious. Don't underestimate 1989s, man. I mean, they're 140 points of the same weight class as the K1A1, but I mean, 20 front, 20 AP, it's a solid package. It really can be. And this is interesting as well. So both of these, no infantry in front, and you wouldn't normally think of a T-80 as a good match. The 19 armor on a Charlie 1 Mark 1, but it's not shooting at the right target there. And okay, that did, yeah, firing computer reset is a tough crit to deal with. 1 dead. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I mean, I imagine blue will retake the low ground here, possibly even push up onto the high ground. Another CV buy for Papa Pingo. It's taking away from the frontline forces at this point. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 individual command vehicle buys from Papa Pingo, including the one at the start. That's 5 total. That's so many points. That's so many points, really. Just, goodness gracious. Alright, so what I'd like to see now is I'd like to see, yep, the UMs need to come over here. It'd be nice to clear out square for us because the K1A1 threat is gone, so this is your best chance to do that. But there's not quite enough chaff here yet. I'd say you need some Motostrelki. This is a little bit risky, especially with the Motostrelki 90. They're a bit too expensive to use as chaff for this sort of thing, but if they get in, I suppose that works alright. But, I mean, you're going to run into tanks and not be able to deal with it, is my guess. Unless I missed a Charlie 2 dying, but I don't think I did. 25 PD, looking for that block 52. Yeah, no, bit of a reach there. These guys, best used in double stacks, which in 1v1 I think is a little bit tough to manage just in terms of the pacing and timing is 200 points. In team games you can manage that a little bit better if things are going well for you, but having lost one, now the other one I think is largely useless other than in a gigantic plane train, which you don't always get. I mean, especially because Rara, so Blind Bandit in particular, is a fan of playing on the ground, so you don't usually see many planes. I was kind of surprised actually to see the double cluster bomber earlier, and I mean, if not for that split, we could have been at this situation a little bit earlier, I think. I mean, the cluster bombers come in, there go 2 K1A1, that would have been really rough for Blue 4 to have to deal with, especially if those RBTs weren't circling, that means they probably would get out. It's a big change. It's why, frankly, it's why people don't like that exploit, because it's just like, oh, hey, you know, go target those 2 tanks. What? They're in separate stacks now? Those clearly aren't the same target you were just given. Let's just go back, right? And they don't even go back. They circle in dangerous territory. So yeah, it's a big reason why people don't like that exploit. One thing here, I do think these guys could have pushed up a little bit sooner, and that little bit of confidence, that little bit of timing really does matter, because all this stuff here, all these Sapri, they were back here at that point. So you get the Kutai 90 up here, and I'm kind of surprised they're having trouble with, well, it's a lot of armor. Blue Dragons doesn't have the best armor piercing, so even their special forces can struggle with it in the woods. Yeah, it's a little rough. Oh man, oh, okay. Double Strela. Yeah, honestly, so one difference. Oh no. Oh no. Oh god. That was a Kiyomaru. Yeah, so a difference here. So you might be looking at this and say, okay, well, blue pushed red out of Gregory. Now red's pushed blue out of Gregory. Is this different from that previous situation? Can red hold it, or is blue just going to push out again? And I think this is different. And I think this is different in part because during red's counteroffensive here, we had 3 K1A1s die. We just had a Kiyomaru Shiki die. We've had some planes die already. All those Peace Pheasant 2s are already dead. This is taking it with being positive on trading. Whereas before it was taking it, but red got their expensive assets mostly out. There were some losses with the Osa and some of the infantry down here in Gregory, but I mean, the double UM survived and formed the basis of that counter push. And then, again, I think, yeah, I mean, there's another CV. There's one over here in Feta that's useless already. If you're gonna look for that Gregory cap, don't buy another. Just retreat that first one back, bring it up the other side. Because those points could very well be needed right now in Boris. But that Centurion Aver's doing a really nice job. Blue's doing a nice amount of pressure here, and if they can get past a Soviet 1980 armor deck, I mean, even if Gregory's taking Boris in response could be a very nice thing for blue. But every little bit is going to count, and losing the Charlie 1 Mark 1 here, and then losing spending the points in the command vehicle when it wasn't necessary, are going to be a big swing in terms of board presence. Ooh, okay. Oh no. Oh, okay. Oh my. Oh man, losing the Chowie 2 to the most Chalky 90, second one of the UM, I do not see how blue comes back from losing both of those as well, because, I mean, that's 3K1A1, that's a Kiyomaru Shiki, it's double Challenger 2, and Challenger 2s, they have a lot of spine. I'd even bet on them in a straight-up fight with T80 UMs, I'm pretty sure I would bet on them just because of the 23 armor, but that's no longer on the table, and that has to be painful. I mean, I guess we can see why this is a 26-minute thing. A lot of good presence from blue. Oh man. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess for that, I gotta say thank you guys for sending in this replay. It was a pleasure to watch. It was, it had some moments in there where, like, I'm a little cringing just a bit because I've been in those situations before. So it's entirely sympathy with some of the stuff happening to the Blue 4 team. Rara / Blind Bandit has done this to me many a times. It's really annoying because you'll think, oh, well, like, clearly these tanks overextended, right? But no, the smoke micro is there, the defense is there, that Peace Pheasant 2 is just going to overfly because it no longer has the ability to even aim at those T80 UMs. And the worst thing, too, is with that positioning, I bet blue could still see them. But the problem isn't necessarily that you can see them or not, it's that the plane doesn't have line of sight anymore. So, yeah, you can see the two T80 UMs, but really nice smoke placement keeps those alive, and that's going to be a surrender from Haku, who's playing as the Captain Weeb Suck, and Combine playing as the Private Haku right after that. So, yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, never fight Blind Bandit in the open field if you can avoid it. It's just pain. It's just gonna be pain. Yeah, fair enough. Well played to all 4 of these players. I hope to see more games from all of them as the tournament goes on, since they are all involved in it. And I mean, yeah, that book M1 did very well. Block 52D did pick off his brother, but just leaving that one alive, better microed because of the fear of that seed plane, I think was a really rough thing to deal with. Triple Peace Pheasant 2 and the Kahu, definitely an MVP there from Blind Bandit. And then the T80 UMs, just beautiful stuff. So the first one, Kiyomaru Shiki. Second one, I believe, yeah, that got a Challenger 2 and the Charlie 1 Mark 1. Rough stuff there. Alright, well, that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.